Welcome to Technology Blows, everyone. This is a stock tips podcast where I, Dan Slimman, and my guest, Jeff Bonhag, just yell directions at our stockbrokers over the phone for a full hour. I'll go first, Jeff. Buy. No, sell. No, buy. Diversify my bonds. Refinance my mortgage.
Corner on wheat. Corn. Soy?
Ooh, soy. I never thought about soy before. Buy soy. Great.
Sell
Thank you.
soy. Sell soy.
Oh, shit.
Hold.
Great.
Hold.
I just bought some of your soy. This is great. I understand why people do this all day. That's going to help a lot of people. We gave a lot of people a lot of great advice there. No, just kidding. This is a podcast about technology. That thing where we build incredible marvels of human ingenuity and then use them to creepily record each other on the subway. Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Yeah, it's the last day of 2025. Kind of a low-key week. Yeah, the holidays were great, and we're just kind of cruising until the new year.
Great.
How are you?
Yeah. Good. I'm looking forward to how normal 2026 is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be super normal. Probably nothing surprising will happen all year.
I can't imagine why anything would. I went to a John Oliver stand-up show last night in Wallingford. That was pretty good.
So was he like? So he was telling jokes, obviously,
Jokes.
but
Yes.
it wasn't like that's how the stand-up generally works. But it wasn't like, was it like news oriented?
Not really. He had a long it was some news, but he had a long segment about, do you know about the at least 3 hydrogen bombs that were accidentally dropped on the United States but didn't go off?
No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
By whom?
Nobody knows about that.
Was that an own goal? Was that like
Yeah.
an oopsie by ourselves?
Yeah, in the 60s, at least in the 60s, we dropped a few bombs just like fell out of airplane. One of the airplanes was like on the tarmac. Another one was in flight, and 3 of the 4 detonators were had gone off. So there was only one safety on it left to prevent an H bomb from going off in North Carolina.
Good grief.
And those are the only the 3 we know about. So there was a long comedy bit about that. It was very funny.
Those guys should read the Checklist Manifesto. I hear that's a great read for avoiding situations like that.
Somebody ought to send that to a military general or something. It's not in the reading material for the leadership.
They're just winging it. They're just like off the cuff,
Yeah.
Who's got the hydrogen bomb? You got it. I'll hold on to it. Don't worry, I got it.
Just will you press here? Okay. Yeah. Bad. It's a very scary thing.
You go to the bathroom on the airplane. You accidentally kick the hydrogen bomb that's sitting in the aisle, and it just sort of rolls out the
Flush.
back.
Oh no! I thought I was pressing the flush button, and I was pressing the drop a hydrogen bomb on New York City button.
We have to stop putting those buttons next to each other.
Damn it! There's just no room there's so many buttons in the cockpit. There's not enough room for more buttons, so they had to put it somewhere else.
Yeah,
At least it's the
yeah.
first class bathroom. You can't have people in coach dropping hydrogen bombs on major American cities.
Well, and it's like why is the flush button in the cockpit to begin with? It's like the pilot doesn't necessarily need control of that. Maybe that's something that could be moved.
It's just a power trip.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, I have good news about AI. You know how back in 2014, 2015, when language models were just starting to come out and they were hilarious because they were so bad?
Yes. I mean, I do remember having a laugh about like math stuff and how many R's are in strawberry. This feels like a little more recent than that, but chess situations where it would make up rules about chess and things like that. And we were all just like, oh, these funny machines, they're not going anywhere.
Right.
Not going to replace us anytime soon.
I remember a recipe for cake that I was crying laughing in the lobby of my office where I worked because it was so funny. And then we lost that because the outputs got too plausible. They sound like actual human outputs. Well, the good news is I think AI may be getting funny again. The other day I was playing this game with my daughter Phoebe where I say the first line of a movie and she tries to guess what movie it is. And so I Googled first line of Beetlejuice. Are you familiar with Beetlejuice, Jeff?
It's funny that you should ask. I just watched it last night.
That's fantastic.
As preparation, I mean, I don't know if this is too much in the weeds, but as preparation for this podcast, I did watch Beetlejuice, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think the first line is not spoken; it's actually the logo of the Geffen company. So is that what you presented to your daughter?
It starts as Deo, but the creepy reverby Deo. Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you've seen it recently, so you'll be able to play this game with me. So, all right, I'm going to read you the Google AI summary that came in response to the query first line of Beetlejuice. And I want you to stop me the first time I make a true statement.
Okay.
Okay? You can just say stop, or you can make an sound or whatever, however you want to do it. Okay? Pay close attention. Ready?
Ready.
The first spoken words in the 1988 movie Beetlejuice are not from the main characters, but from a passerby, Jane, to Barbara. Hello, Jane. All right, not bringing any bells. All right, Jane. So. You don't remember when Jane said to Barbara, "Hello, Jane"?
oh.
Right. Next sentence.
It would make more sense if Jane said, "Hello, Jane" to Jane.
I mean, if anything. A lot of things would make more sense than any of this. So here's the next line from the AI summary. This is followed by Jane asking, "How are you, Barbara? How's the flag cake coming?" Remember that part?
No truth. No truth
okay,
detected.
No truth yet. The opening scene also features a voiceover narration for a news report. And the very first words of the film's opening credits are a voiceover saying Beetlejuice.
So not only are all of them wrong, but it's like there are three different answers contained in conflicting answers contained in the same response.
Yeah, simultaneously there's a news report and a voiceover saying Beetlejuice, and also Jane saying to Barbara, "Hello, Jane."
Those are all three of the first lines of the movie spoken simultaneously.
What a classic. Tim Burton's such a genius.
He's so zany.
Nobody else would have thought to do that.
A real auteur.
The flag cake thing apparently comes from the initial draft, which I found online of the script where Jane was making a flag cake. That wasn't the opening line, but Jane does make a flag cake, and they talk about the flag cake in the first scene of that.
Oh, yeah. Apparently that script went through a bunch of rewrites. Because it was super dark, much darker at the beginning, and there's something in Wikipedia about an executive kind of getting dressed down and being like, "You're throwing your career away on this the spooky stuff." So I'm glad that AI will help us straighten it out, or help us arrive at the truth indirectly.
I would watch this movie. But it's not Beetlejuice. Speaking of things that aren't Beetlejuice, Jeff, have you heard of Kalshi?
Only very, very. Yes, I've heard of it. I don't really know what it is. I mentioned it to some people, and they kind of got this terrified look in their eye.
As well they should.
Yeah, I try to generally keep my head in the sand as much as possible.
That's great. I'm a podcaster, so I got to keep my head out, take my head out of the sand sometime and learn about
This is my only source of news is coming on Technology Blows and learning about what's happened.
Yeah, and you're trying to talk
we have large language models now.
You're at the water cooler talking to your coworkers is like, did you hear about the smart beds that have the AI in them? And you're like, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah. I'm apparently there are these wireless headphones. I guess the wires are just super short or something. And
they have less wires.
And also washing machines are woke.
So Kalshi's not woke. Kalshi is a new sports betting app where you can also bet on U.S. elections. Now, that's not how they talk about themselves. On October 6th, the two wunderkind founders of this company went up on stage at Citadel Securities' Future of Global Markets 2025 event in New York in their white sneakers and their windbreakers and slacks. And CEO Tarek Mansour explained the company's vision like this.
Like, could you financialize in anything that people care about? And you know, Kalshi is everything in Arabic. The long-term vision is to financialize everything and create a tradable asset out of any difference in opinion.
Well, there's no shortage of that. I mean, in this day and age, capitalize on that.
So does that sound? How does that hit you, Jeff? Does that sound like the kind of thing a normal person would say?
No, it definitely sounds like something that's, you just take sort of a questionable idea to an extreme. Perhaps antisocial, to financialize any difference in opinion, to make like human discourse like transactional.
Yeah. That's a good analysis. I think personally that it's an extremely fucked up thing to say, and I think it speaks to a diseased soul.
Well, you're more eloquent than I am.
I've had more time to think of it, and I thought around. I was like, is there some way in which this is not fucked up? And there isn't. But you say it in front of an audience of stock market people, and everybody's like, oh yeah, yes. What a genius 20-something.
Like, does financialize have a specific meaning? Because that's the word that I kind of get stuck on. Like I'm like, what does financialize actually mean?
So welcome to Technology Blows, where you get to find out exactly what is meant by that. And it's not good. It's not good, Jeff. Kalshi doesn't like to think of themselves as a betting app. They're not something as mundane and vulgar as a sports betting app, but rather they're the first federally regulated prediction market in the United States. And we'll talk about how that grandiose self-image shakes out in the real world. But basically, Kalshi's an app where users place bets on questions like, who will be Time's 2025 Person of the Year? Or will SpaceX launch humans to Mars before 2030? Or who will be the Democratic nominee for president in 2028? Right now, we have Gavin Newsom trading at 35%, AOC at 10%, and then Pete Buttigieg is way down there at 5%. And then there's some people I've never heard of. Do you know who Gretchen Whitmer is? I don't know who that is.
Wasn't she the governor of Michigan?
Oh yeah, that sounds like something Gretchen Whitmer would be. Anyway, she's got a 4%. So, don't count her out. So let's learn about Kalshi, the plucky little sports betting app that might just destroy democracy.
Do people still use it to bet on sports? Like as opposed like
Absolutely.
because there's such a overabundance of like sports betting apps. It's like, were people going to Kalshi instead of like DraftKings or something?
So for most of the year, the vast bulk of Kalshi's revenue comes from sports betting. The way that they get that market share, which is still a drop in the bucket compared to FanDuel or DraftKings, but the way that they get it is they make possibly false claims about their odds being better than the betting sites, because they're not a betting site. They're an exchange where you trade with others, and Kalshi doesn't set the odds. They don't take a vig. They don't set the odds. So actually, you get better odds this way.
Like a predictions market, but you can't have like an opinion about like who won a football game.
No, you can't. So they write a contract that's very specific about what the terms are of when the contract lapses, when the contract settles, and then we'll get into all this.
Okay.
But it goes back really far. So
cool. This sounds great. I think I'm really gonna be inspired by this.
You're gonna love this. You're gonna love this. You're gonna be on Kalshi betting on it. You're gonna be taking bets on everything on Kalshi. You're gonna be betting your children.
Who's the next Technology Blows guest?
Yeah,
It's gonna be.
Yeah. There's like 31 million in trading volume on that question, and I don't see a dime of it.
But you could push a result one way or the other if you had control over an outcome.
No way, man. How? Don't be ridiculous.
Okay. Maybe I'm spoiling a little bit. All right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no.
Please go ahead. I'm all ears.
It's a can of worms. So the practice of wagering on future outcomes is older than money itself. The oldest 6-sided dice we have, which we think were used for gambling, are from about 3000 BC. But those dice emerged from even older artifacts going back thousands of years earlier called ostrogali. And these were usually the knuckle bones of small animals. They're scrawled with symbols, and then a priest or other ritual figure rolls them and interprets the results in order to divine something about the future. So clearly, even at the earliest glimmers of human civilization, we have this intuitive sense of a deep connection between randomness and predicting the future. We saw that through some invisible, ineffable power, we could discern the contours of the future by giving up some of our control of the present. We control some aspects of the process very carefully. It's a ritual, right? But the crucial step, the step that actually allows the gods to talk, is through throwing dice, randomness. And this isn't just a primitive superstition, because randomness does turn out to be central to modern methods of producing knowledge about the world and the future. For example, this is essentially how science works. We set up precise constraints, and then we let random events happen within those constraints, and we interpret the random events to make predictions about future events. It's not that far off, modern science, from what we were doing in 7000 BC with fox knuckles. We're just a lot better about it now, and it's been stripped of most of its mysticism, right?
I'm digging the fox knuckles. I think that's very cool.
Yeah.
Ostrogali.
Yeah, we should use more fox knuckles. If somebody should come up with an app where where like you just watch people throw fox knuckles.
That could be a Twitch stream. I mean, is that where like bones like bones?
Yeah, throw the bones
Dice?
probably. Yeah. And science isn't the only way that modern humans use randomness to build knowledge about the future. Another way is betting. Because it's widely believed that when you get enough people together betting money on the outcome of a future event, even if those people all have conflicting knowledge and conflicting motivations and emotional states, the odds that emerge from all that betting will approach the real world odds of the outcome. They call this the wisdom of crowds, the idea that while any individual person may be totally wrong about the odds of a given event, the aggregated knowledge of everyone in the market can estimate those odds accurately.
Yeah, this is also kind of like psychohistory, right? Like the Asimov Foundation psychohistory.
Yes, it is, Jeff.
And then you have this mule come along and disrupt these practices.
And the mule is Donald Trump Jr., but we'll get to that. Right, it's not just libertarian crazy talk. You can use, markets have been used with quite a bit of success to predict outcomes in politics and sports and the climate, which is neat. It can work surprisingly well when certain assumptions hold, like independence of decisions, availability of information, sufficient amounts of money available to trade. But when these assumptions don't hold, which is in like most situations, the wisdom of the crowd can be really, really, really wrong. For example, a bubble is a period in which the market price of some asset is much higher than the asset's actual value. And these happen fucking constantly. Just in the last 30 years, we've had the dot-com bubble, in which the NASDAQ Composite Index fell 78%. We have the housing bubble that led to the subprime mortgage crisis of 2008, which you may recall as leading to a recession that lasted 3 years. And a lot of people are saying there's an AI bubble right now.
A lot of people are saying
that. Who knows?
Do you think that we're in an AI bubble?
I think maybe these companies were right to pump billions of gallons a year of precious life-giving water into the desert so that bored teens can generate shitposts of SpongeBob and Patrick cooking meth. I think maybe that was the right thing to do, and it's actually worth a lot of money.
I mean, to me, it feels more like a shim. It's like these companies are introducing a shim between like human thought and action, and that's really priceless. So like even if the value like the bottom falls out of the value of the services they're providing, or they're not making revenue or something like that, they're still like transforming like the way that people think and work in a way that can be like further, like that wedge can be like further leveraged in the future, even if it doesn't like exactly look like that. It's like maybe we're not all using chatbots in 5 years, but we're all sort of like captivated by like a different app or a different experience that these same people control.
Yeah, we're all used to the idea that we give the machine our intentions as input, and it comes up with what we're going to do and say.
Yeah, just treating technology as an oracle, basically.
Right. We got to get back to Fox Knuckles.
Yeah, we got to get back to the organic. Yeah, I'm just gonna start writing down my thoughts on paper, ripping them up and scattering them and seeing where they land. And that's where I'll take my cues from.
That's free. Yeah, so bubbles show how trusting in the wisdom of the crowd can be fucking catastrophic. And speaking of things that are fucking catastrophic, American politics. One of our favorite things to bet on throughout American history has been presidential elections. Between 1884 and 1928, bettors collectively wagered an average of $66 million adjusted for inflation on presidential elections, like per election. The 1916 election, Woodrow Wilson versus Charles Evans Hughes, as I'm sure you remember, attracted the equivalent of $300 million in bets. And to quote this research paper I found by some economists from UNC, in only one case during this period did the candidate clearly favored in betting a month before Election Day lose.
Now, those bettors did not have an app, I'm pretty sure. Were the bets like coordinated, or was it just like just people going out and being like, I'll bet you $20 like Woodrow Wilson's gonna win?
It got pretty sophisticated. These were mostly like New York Stock Exchange traders who were doing most of the betting, and they had set up contracts where you could buy and sell, and was reported in the newspaper. This was before they really had polls, reliable polls. So this was like kind of the most reliable source of information about what people were feeling about the election, and it was pretty. It was pretty formalized on the stock exchange.
Are polls on the whole less reliable than like betting?
That is a very good and interesting question to which we do not yet have a scientific answer.
Oh. It's like if you actually have skin in the game, maybe you're like pushing the outcome a certain way, or like if somebody calls you at dinner and you're feeling saucy, you're gonna like mess with the pollster and
right.
It
could come out either way. It's probably more complicated even than one being better than the other. They interface with each other. They anchor one another. But betting, it's a pretty impressive prediction record that the candidate who was ahead in betting a month before the election never lost during this period. So you can do pretty well. But around the 1930s, betting on elections went out of style, which these economists attribute to a few different factors. First of all, polls got better. We got better at doing polls, and so people didn't need this information from the newspapers about the bets as much. Second of all, stock exchanges started to strongly discourage their members from betting on politics because, they didn't want their very serious, economically important stock markets being associated with all this low-class gambling.
How gauche.
Right. I mean,
these are serious financial instruments.
We're providing value by speculating on the, get over yourselves.
Corn.
And finally, and maybe most significantly, in 1939, New York State legalizes horse racing. So now all these Wall Street guys have something to bet on that happens every day instead of every 4 years, and it's legal. And by the way, like, this is still true. So that people would prefer to bet on, like, if you're a gambling addict, like every New York Stock Exchange trader, you're going to want to bet on horse races or sports or something that happens every day rather than things that only happen every 4 years, like a political election, which is going to make it really hard for Kalshi to generate enough depth in its political markets to resist things like market manipulation. But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. So these guys, either there's something innate in humanity that makes people want to bet with each other, or just like this career attracts people who really love to bet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, if you've got an outlet for that, that's good. It sounds like people are getting what they need, which is the first step towards utopia. Yeah.
That's a great way to think about it, Jeff. You're so optimistic.
I'm going to start a sister podcast called Technology's Great.
Yeah.
And I have you on and we'll just
do an episode about whatever I did an episode about every week. You could be like the what do they call it? Knowledge Fight, where they just they do a podcast every week about Alex Jones's podcast the previous week.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know that was a thing. That's really funny.
Political betting goes dormant for a few decades. During the Reagan years, interest in political betting goes back on the rise. Now, though, instead of betting, we're calling it prediction markets. So a prediction market is where people can buy and trade what are called event contracts. An event contract is an asset that turns into money if your prediction turns out to be correct, otherwise turns into ash, effectively.
And it's getting paid by the people who are predicting the opposite?
Yes. So it sort of gives political betting a financial sheen. You know, it's nothing so vulgar as betting. You see, we're using the science of market dynamics to aggregate revealed preferences into accurate predictions of the future. Oh, that sounds much more intellectual than betting. So how does it work? Well, first everybody puts in some money, right? It's like
it's kind of like health insurance. Sounds like
it's a lot like health insurance.
Cool. So we're all putting money into a bucket. Some people get money. Some people lose money.
It's like the Futurama episode where they're going fishing and Bender says, "Hey, how about we make this interesting? Everybody put in $5." And everybody's like, "All right, that sounds fun. Yeah, I'll put in $5." And then Bender says, "There, wasn't that interesting?" and goes back below decks. So the first of these new prediction markets is the University of Iowa's Iowa Electronic Markets, which is founded in 1988, where you can buy event contracts for a lot of things, including U.S. political outcomes. So in order to get approval, this market, they want to start this market for academic purposes, but they have to get approval from a federal regulator for this sort of thing. And that regulator is the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, or CFTC. And
is this going to be another data? Is this going to be like another data washing story where it's like something kind of emerged from like academia and then got like corrupted by?
They do still make that argument. Kalshi still does make the argument that like allowing political bets on their platform is good because it creates useful data for political scientists, which it's impossible to believe that the people who created Kalshi care about that, but that's what they say.
Pay me to produce data.
Right. We don't need to do that much science. Anyway, so the way the Iowa Electronic Markets made it around this regulation requirement is that they made it so that nobody can have more than $500 in outstanding bets on their market at any time, which is great. That makes these markets way too small to interest real traders, and therefore avoids a lot of the problems that the CFTC exists to prevent. Insider trading and stuff. Why bother insider trading on this stuff? You can only make a $500 or some small multiple of $500 max.
Right.
But these prediction markets have just kept coming. So nowadays there's a bunch of them. You got PredictIt, which is a prediction market based in New Zealand that could briefly take trades from Americans, but got run out of the U.S. by the CFT a few years back, although they may be coming back. You got Augur, which is a cryptocurrency-based prediction market, which has a well-earned reputation for people betting on public figures being assassinated. which sounds totally reasonable. Can't see why that would be a problem.
That's the most horrible thing that you've said so far, because that is definitely a thing that someone with a financial interest in that outcome could move towards realizing.
Mm-hmm. And libertarians have written whole long screeds about why that's good, and also it would be good if you made it more like that, where like you could take bets every day on bets on the date on which a particular figure would be assassinated, and then if you want to assassinate that person, then you can put all your money on that date and then go assassinate them.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Cool. Very cool. You got Polymarket, another crypto-based prediction market that's very big and which has Donald Trump Jr. as an advisor and a bunch of investment from Donald Trump Jr.'s capital firm, 1789 Capital. So these things are just cropping up left and right.
What's the significance of 1789? Is that Bill of Rights?
I think that's when the Declaration of Independence. Don't quote me on this. I think that's when the Declaration of Independence was drafted.
1776, though. Yeah.
1789. Oh, you're right. 1789 was the first president. 1789 was the first presidential inauguration.
Oh, interesting. Oh, because Washington didn't get one?
No, he did, but it was in 1789.
Oh. Man, this is embarrassing for me. I'm sorry.
We're both embarrassed now because I didn't know
that
I misestimated the Declaration of Independence by 13 years. So
we should cut this part out. Otherwise, we might get the old boot ourselves.
Thanks everybody. This has been Technology Blows podcast over. We were too wrong about too many things. You can't have a podcast. There's the law. You can't have a podcast if you're wrong about things on it.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yep. So now joining this illustrious club of prediction markets, we have a newcomer called Kalshi. Kalshi was founded by a pair of MIT 30 under 30s named Tarek Mansour and Luana Lopez Lara. Mansour is the one who wants to be seen as the bold visionary, I think. And so he's the one getting out in front of the public all the time and saying very stupid shit. And then Luana Lopez Lara, for my money, is the smarter of the two. She grew up in Brazil and studied ballet at the Bolshoi Theater School in Brazil.
Nice.
She says that the teachers at her ballet school would sometimes hold a lit cigarette under her leg while she tried to keep it raised to practice keeping her leg raised, which is the kind of thing you say if you want to appear like mythically competitive as all these finance people do. I don't know if it's true. Does it sound true to you?
I think it does. I think ballet teachers are pretty exacting in their demands.
Yeah.
It's an art form that I think. I mean, obviously that's like an extreme, right? But it is an art form that requires a lot of precision and discipline, and I don't obviously advocate hurting another person. I can see, kind of like, what was that movie with the jazz drummer or whatever? Like
Whiplash.
Yeah, like Whiplash style. That's sort of like your crazy mentor is just like making your life hell.
I can believe
in pursuit of this vision.
Based on what I know about Brazil and ballet, which is very little, I can believe it.
I've heard more about Brazilian jiu-jitsu than Brazilian ballet.
Yeah, Brazilian jiu-jitsu involves a lot of burning people with cigarettes. That Sam Harris is always burning people with and Joe Rogan are always burning each other with cigarettes. It's great. It's really fun to watch.
Yeah. You can't. There's no time to be depressed when you're burning somebody with a cigarette in the middle of a Brazilian jiu-jitsu match.
Yeah, I remember when Mark Zuckerberg went on Rogan and he was just talking about his AI glasses in the middle of his sentence. He was like,
"Wait, what? He sneezed?
Is that not the sound you make when you get burned with a cigarette?" I don't know. Well, we'll find out.
It's like a dog bark.
Mark Zuckerberg's natural voice. He stopped doing his cool guy Brazilian jiu-jitsu,
He's just like,
accent
stop
for a second. He's like,
hey, stop.
Anyway, so these two kids, they both get like, they study computer science. They both study a little bit of finance, which is the study of how to make money go around in a circle until some of it ends up in your pocket. And both of them get these prestigious internships. You know, Goldman Sachs, Bridgewater Associates, which is a big hedge fund. Mansour interns at Palantir, the government surveillance firm owned by investor and apocalyptic cult founder Peter Thiel. And after a while, Mansour and Lopez Lara meet back up at MIT and they decide to start a business together. And the pitch for their business is, what if people could trade any future outcome? Which, in case you think you missed something, that's just betting. But it probably sounds really deep if you're in college. It's like, you know, huge bong rip. Oh, what if we use economics to like predict the future? Right?
So, but are they like interested in making money for themselves? Like, did these two have like gambling addictions? Are they like going up to strangers and being like, I'll bet you I can like, you know, like jump 5 feet in the air or something like that?
First of all, Luana Lopez Lara might be able to jump 5 feet in the air, but they interned at these hedge funds, and they like met a bunch of traders, and they found out like, well, these traders are trading all day. They're trading their clients' money all day, but they're also making a lot of personal bets among themselves about like, will Brexit happen by this date, or will, you know, things that may affect the outcome of their trades. They're sort of hedging. They're using these bets to hedge against their large trades.
Like personally, like
yes.
Amongst each other?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, they were like, what if we could use economics to predict the future? And it's like, yeah, we've all read Foundation, as you pointed out. Like, you're not Harry Seldon. You're not going to like, you haven't changed the way the world works by coming up with this idea. But they think they have. They're like, this is it. This is the big idea that's going to make us both billionaires. And the sad thing is, they're right about that. They're both billionaires now. Which fucking sucks. The original working name of this business was, get ready for this name, Kownig.
Cownig?
Kownig.
Oh. What is Kownig?
No idea. They never used it. They're smart enough to know that was not a marketable name. But they used
kept
it
the
as
K.
Working name.
And Kalshi does mean everything.
Kalshi means everything in Arabic, because the vision was you could just bet on anything, you know, because they want to financialize everything people care about. They said, like, you know, Kalshi lets you take something as subjective as a celebrity rumor, like, is Kendall Jenner pregnant, and turn it into a concrete number, a price. It's like capturing a fleeting thought and giving it a form you can analyze and discuss.
Well, I think that is very, you know, very smart on their part, because it's like, right, like the idea is to sort of like capture this behavior that's like a part of human nature, and that in the environments that they're living, they're like observing this like happening all the time, and just like driving it to that end, and just being like, yeah, let's be the middleman in like every thought, every bet.
It's not dumb, but it's not like good for society either. Yeah. And it also like probably doesn't help you make friends. I wonder if I could put like a no bet on whether Tariq Mansour will make a single friend by 2030. Because if you go around telling people like, your friends like, I wonder if Kendall Jenner's pregnant, and you say like, put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah. You're just like salivating. You're like, oh yeah. You really think that? You really think that?
Do you? Yeah. Your 8-year-old son is like, I'm not going to eat my potatoes. And you're like, oh, do you think you're not going to eat your potatoes? How much money have you got in your pocket?
Yeah, that's probably a pretty safe bet, actually. I would take that bet. I don't know who would bet
you could hedge on
that.
Yeah. So in any way, in order to execute on this horrible vision, for Kalshi to be within reach of everyone, not just finance nerds with crypto wallets or people who won't know how VPNs work to make it look like they live in New Zealand, they were going to need to get regulated, right? Because nobody wants to make big trades on a market that might just get shut down by the government at any time because it's not it's illegal. And we'll talk about how that regulation fight went, because it's a wild story.
could they have kept it? Could they have kept themselves like really small? Just been like we're only interested in these like everyman bets, like almost like a micro loan type thing, where they're just like make it easy to like bet $100 on the number, or no, not even $100, like $5 on, like almost like lotto style, like make it easy to bet $2, bet $5 on the number of people that are going to be in front of you in the grocery line or something like that. So you're just going through the world, like money's flowing in, it's flowing out, and you're like, you're on, man. You've got this like, you've got this edge because you're hyper engaged in everything.
Right. You're acting up perfectly rationally.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you can already do that though, right? Like you can just make bets with if you have a fight, just find a friend who likes gambling as much as you do and make bets against them, right? You don't need to, and that's not how you become a billionaire.
Okay, but they wanted the larger bets. They wanted depth, not breadth, or whatever.
They wanted volume. They wanted trading volume because that's how you make money. Because Kalshi's business model is they make money on every trade. They get a fee for every trade. So the more people are trading, the more money they make.
Is it a flat fee or is it like a percentage?
I don't know their fee structure. I'm not.
I bet it's a percentage. I bet you $100 it's a percentage.
We could trade that on the IO electronics market, or electronic markets. Yeah. So let's talk about how Kalshi actually works. How do you, as they say, trade on the future? The assets that are traded on Kalshi are these event contracts that I mentioned before. An event contract is an asset whose value settles to either $1 or $0, depending on whether a specified event occurs, which is like specified very carefully in the contract. So, for example, suppose you and I each buy an event contract on whether Tarek Mansour will be charged with a financial crime by January 1st, 2031. And I think he will be charged with a financial crime because, I don't know, he just seems like the type. So I bet yes, and say that yes is trading at 30 cents. So I buy a yes contract for 30 cents, and you buy a no contract for 70 cents because you think they already own the Justice Department essentially, and they're not going to get there. Nobody's going to charge them anything, which is a totally reasonable point of view. Or maybe you just think Tarek Mansour is a brilliant visionary who wants to make the world a safer place for political scientists and ice cream truck drivers. And so what do you know? Tarek Mansour does get charged with wire fraud on December 31st, 2030. Again, this is hypothetical. And instantly my contract is worth $1 and your contract is worth $0. So fuck you. I make a profit of 70 cents because I paid 30 cents for the contract, and you lose your 30 cents. You get nothing back, right?
Yes, that makes sense. So it's like it adds up to $1 basically.
It adds up to $1. And so that's why they don't
contract. And you can buy, I guess you could buy multiple event contracts or something.
Oh yeah,
or
you can buy as many as you want.
Yeah. So like 30 times a million or whatever.
That's how they get around that's how they make it. You can't trade on margin, which means like you can't trade borrowed money that you borrowed from Kalshi on things. Like you can on a lot of other markets. You can borrow money from an exchange and bet that. You can bet only cash on Kalshi, which means that the bets are paid out by other bettors, right?
Like credit card rewards.
So you can see how the price that these contracts are trading on from day to day reflects sort of the market's aggregate belief about the odds of the event happening, right? Because if you know that an event has a 25% chance of happening, you should be willing to pay 20 cents for that event contract, but not willing to pay 30 cents for it, which is what makes this a plausible way to estimate odds in the real world. But it only works under certain assumptions. One of those assumptions is rationality. So this works if we assume that at least most of the people, most of the time, are acting rationally. And of course, as we all know, the thing human beings are best at is acting rationally. I don't know. Have you, Jeff? Have you ever encountered somebody acting irrationally? What was that like? Has that ever happened?
He was rolling fox knuckles, man. Oh. Like he didn't believe in free will at all. It was crazy.
That's insane. He would not. He should not. That guy should not be allowed on Kalshi. I've never met. It's never happened to me. I've never acted irrationally. I have a 5-year-old. She's never acted irrationally, so I let her place bets on Kalshi. Another important assumption beyond rationality is liquidity, meaning people need to be readily able at any time to buy or sell their assets for cash. If I go to try to sell my bets on, will the White House ballroom be completed in time for Shark Week, but nobody wants to buy them from me because nobody's interested in that market, then there's not enough liquidity in that market, right? And it doesn't work to estimate odds anymore. Because lack of liquidity can result in all kinds of market inefficiencies, including insider trading and market manipulation, which make the market very bad at estimating probability. And I think Kalshi has a very hard liquidity problem to solve, but we'll talk about that later.
Can I ask a question? Can anybody just like create a contract? Like, could I just specify whatever thing I wanted, or are they sort of like descending from on high?
It's a mix. So the most interesting part of the Kalshi app, if you look at the app, is the section where, to me at least, is the section where people are discussing potential bets or market ideas that they have. Kalshi calls them market ideas. Basically, you can come up with your own things that you'd like to bet on, and you can describe them to the community in a little post that you make, like a little social media thing. And for example, I went on and I made a post about whether Tariq Mansour will be charged with a financial crime by January 1st, 2031. And I'm not going to say whether I'd take the yes or no bet. Before it was hypothetical. I don't want to give my bet away. I'm not saying whether I would take the yes or no bet, but by his own logic, he should take the yes bet as a hedge against going to federal prison. Anyway, I made this little post, and it was open to community discussion. The idea being that if an idea gets enough engagement in the social media, then Kalshi might decide to start a market for it. Now, nobody engaged with my post, or one person engaged with my post. I don't think it's going to be listed. The person who commented on it was like, they own all the regulators and they're never gonna get charged with financial crimes. And it's like, A, that wasn't the question, and B, if you think that, then put your money where your mouth is, asshole.
Yeah. And C, would you like to be a guest on my podcast?
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, all this shit with the event contracts and the hedgers and the speculators and the market makers is of course just another way for capitalists to seemingly whisk money out of the empty air, right? Nobody's actually doing anything of value here. Everybody's just gambling. So the profits, to the extent profits can be made off of Kalshi by bettors, are coming from exploitation.
Well, and I love this meta market of like attention.
I mean, the app is like just a flurry of constant people saying things they would like to bet on, and there's nobody. You don't have any friends on it. Like, why would you have? It's a market. It's a market app. You don't go on Kalshi to make friends, so nobody really sees your posts, and I don't know.
Yeah, you're just like a pack of wild dogs, just like barking at each other.
Have you ever seen the floor at the New York Stock Exchange?
It is like Pitt. It's like New York Stock Exchange, the home game, but like in app form.
Finally, you can have the relaxing, pro-social atmosphere of the trading floor at the New York Stock Exchange right in the palm of your hand.
Now, are you allowed to jabberjaw with other people on like in these active markets? Like, can you sort of like gamesman? What's the word, like gamesmanship?
You can post. You can have conversations about the market on the app. Yeah, an active market, and you can try to like psych people out or whatever you want to do.
Yeah. You're like, I'm on my way to Redacted's house right now with my Redacted. Get your bets in now.
So it's a social harm. It's not a social good. No matter how many elections you correctly predict, it's bad. But obviously, Kalshi's founders don't see it that way. They're always using this high-minded language to cast their betting app as a social good. Here's another clip from that Citadel Securities event in October.
What if we could actually price questions about the future? Whether Brexit is going to happen or what's happening with climate, who's going to win the next election. Like, these are important questions that a market-based, rational answer would do us quite a bit of good, instead of sort of the polarized, biased, emotionally fueled sort of debate that we're currently having about all these questions.
People famously not emotional when it comes to money.
Yeah. There's no bias in finance. What do you think? I don't know what that means. Like, he says, what if we could have rational answers that would do us quite a bit of good to have rational answers to simple questions about the future? Does that make sense to you, Jeff? Do you know what he means by that?
It sounds like he's saying that like people own like money is like a tool to express rationality or something like that. So it's like if you do something with your money, then you wouldn't be doing irrational things with money because money actually matters, unlike feelings or emotions or something, which like opinions. It's like opinions don't matter, but like if you're if you're willing to throw down like $5 like that, then that's how you really feel or something.
Yeah, they call it, Luana Lopez Lara calls it a tax on bullshit.
Oh yeah. That I can understand that framing from their perspective.
I guess so. I was kind of puzzled by it because, like, it's not obviously clear to me what good it would do to have even if the rational predictions of the odds are correct, what good does it do to have them, right? Like, for society. For example, Kalshi had a market on the New York City mayoral election back in November, which you may remember as a resident of New York. And suppose Kalshi had correctly predicted a Zoran win when the polls were still saying Cuomo. It's not how it went down. But if it had gone that way, like, what good exactly would this do us? And for what definition of us? Like, you live in New York, maybe it would have given you an extra couple hours to barricade your house against the droves of Sharia lawyers and confusingly sexy drag queens that flooded up I-87 the moment the polls closed. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Man, I heard that parade for sure.
They're loud.
No, wait. So I just have to point of clarification. Kalshi did not predict Zoran was going to win.
Well, they did predict Zoran was going to win, but so were the polls. So did everybody knew already.
Okay.
It wasn't like.
Yeah. So okay, right. So the idea was that like if it had been trading in that direction, like I could have known earlier, and I could have, I don't know, like been happier sooner. I don't know.
Or angrier sooner if it.
Or angrier sooner. Who knows?
Yeah, that's how you're not supposed to think about it too much.
You're supposed to bet on it. I mean, that's the real
just
thing,
bet on it, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Just put your money on it.
Okay, but specifically talking about how like these like pure rational like reads of people, these like rational outputs. Like if the market is a rational output, what can we do with that information? I don't know.
I don't know either. Somebody can probably do something with it, but not me. So I thought I'd try to figure out where this idea of market predictions being good for society comes from, and it's basically a libertarian idea. So if you ask a libertarian to justify what he believes, and he happens to be the kind of libertarian who has ever examined his beliefs, he'll usually talk either about individual freedom, and if he's read some books, he might talk about John Locke, or he'll talk about markets. And most of the market stuff was developed in the first half of the 20th century by Ludwig von Mises and his student Friedrich Hayek, who were part of what's called the Austrian School of Economics. The Austrian school believed everything in economics had to be explained in terms of individuals acting in their own self-interest. Individuals meet in markets, they buy goods and sell goods for whatever prices they mutually agree to. And if markets are efficient, then prices can adjust rapidly in response to any new information that arises. So like, if there's no rain predicted for a week in Florida, then orange juice futures get cheaper. And to Hayek, this is a social good. In his framework, this is a social good because it means production will continue in the face of all sorts of disruptions. Like, if the Coca-Cola factory burns down, then Pepsi's prices will go up and everybody who wants cola enough will be able to get it from Pepsi.
This is deep. This is deep. Sorry. Yeah.
Almost reasonable. It feels almost reasonable, right? It's like market efficiency is good for production. Production is good for society. And it seems almost reasonable to me because I tend to be pretty skeptical of central economic planning because it concentrates too much power in too few hands. However, during the rest of the 20th century, America's financial elite has developed this skewed reading of the Austrian school where markets are not just the means, but the ends. For more markets, freer markets, markets everywhere, markets all the time. They develop this sort of market fetishism. They believe that all problems in society can be solved through bigger, freer markets. And as a corollary, if a societal problem can't be solved in any clear way by bigger, freer markets, then, if it's something like climate change or racism or poverty, it must not be a real problem. Right? Because it must either be an illusion or some kind of obscure second order symptom of not having free enough markets. And somehow it'll, we don't know how yet, but it'll definitely be solved by freer markets.
Right. Like the markets are like this like extremely pure thing. And if something's sort of like not aligned with the markets, it's like not the market's fault. It's the market's fault in that it's like, well, the market's just not good enough, but if we had a better market, like we would account for that. It's
government interference, or it's monopoly, or it's something interfering.
It's a no true Scotsman kind of thing. It's like
exactly.
that's not a real free market.
Right. That's
so
exactly
funny.
What
that's
it
like
is.
what people say. I feel like that's like what people say about like other forms of government that that have not succeeded, where they're just like, I don't know. Anytime something doesn't work that people like, they're just like, well, that wasn't really the rip. That wasn't.
There's a lot of like that wasn't real communism arguments made about the Soviet Union, for example.
Yeah, man.
And there's a lot of like, I mean, it's similar to that argument, and it's similar to also religion, where, why does God let bad things happen to good people? Well, God is perfectly moral. God is the source of morality, so you don't worry about that. Like God has a plan, and everything's going to work out for you, right?
Yeah, and it's like God moves in mysterious ways, and you do not necessarily understand the inner workings, and so you can't say that this was like a bad thing.
Yeah, so I think that's what he means. I think that's what Tarek Mansour means when he says that event contract prices on Kalshi, if they're accurate, can do us quite a bit of good. He means that investors will be able to use the odds that are generated to get more profit in the market. That's the good for society. It's as someone who thinks this way, good for society is a synonym for useful to investors.
And specifically useful to investors in Kalshi, or are they able to take these outputs from Kalshi and like apply them in other areas?
Why not? You can use it that's market efficiency, baby. You can take it, any information you have. All information should be public, and if anybody has information, they can use it to trade, and that makes the markets better. Never mind that like having only free markets solve things leads to millions of people hungry and cold and dying in the streets, or to the breakdown of democracy, or to the scouring of life from the only habitable planet in the fucking galaxy. That all must be good because it shook out of the markets, which are good. And even if we do accept that the scouring of life from Earth is maybe bad, maybe something we shouldn't do, because it'll kill everyone, we still need to come up with a free market solution to it, because the free market is the alpha and the omega, and nothing is possible except through profit.
Right. And the free market, says like our response to that is like invest in like space travel.
Yeah, right. Well, just get out there, get out of here.
Yeah.
We'll scour this one. Yeah, right. Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, this free market philosophy is nothing really. It's just the idea you arrive at when you're Tarek Mansour and you've been immersed in the social network of high finance where everybody's constantly telling you that becoming hyper rich is the moral purpose of your existence. Anyway, so how did Kalshi become regulated by the CFTC when so many prediction markets before them had failed? Well, you can't deny that it took some grit. The founders say they called 65 lawyers in a single day trying to find anyone who would tell them it wasn't hopeless. Everybody's like, people have been trying this since the 1980s. It doesn't fucking work. Get a job. But eventually they did find that person in Jeff Bonhag, a former CFTC official who told them that the regulatory environment was shifting and they might have a chance.
What year was this?
Don't quote me on this, but probably like 2018.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, halfway through the first Trump presidency.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the regulatory environment is shifting.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, if only they had stopped after calling 64 lawyers. I mean, imagine. But unfortunately, they called their 65th lawyer, and he agreed to help them through their approval process as their lawyer.
Maybe he was actually lawyer number like 3, and they just like left a message for him or something, and so like they spent the rest of their day calling these other lawyers, and then he finally called them back, and they were like, oh.
I like to imagine he was lawyer 62, and he said, actually, that could work, and they were like, okay, thanks, and they hung up, and they called the next 3 lawyers, and they were like, wait a second. Did that guy just say it would work? Which guy said that?
Yeah, like they were just on autopilot and they were just like, like, thank you, goodbye, thank you, goodbye, thank you, goodbye. And he was like, I love this idea. And they were like, thank you, goodbye.
You're right. Fuck.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So they had their regulatory strategy was two-phased. Phase 1, convince the CFTC that they were trustworthy by checking all the right boxes. They answered this like 23-item checklist, which was mostly about mundane things like, do you have appropriate record keeping? Can you guarantee there will always be enough money to pay out all the bets? Shit like that, that the CFTC worries about. And they were like, they were very diligent. They filled out the questionnaire. They were like, look, we're not Polymarket. We're not Augur. We're serious financial professionals acting in good faith.
We're from MIT.
We went to MIT. Look at our windbreakers. So they passed the questionnaire and they moved on to phase 2, flood the agency with proposals for contract markets. In March of 2021, Kalshi sent the CFTC 30 proposed markets, everything from how many people will get vaccinated against COVID-19 to who will win Best New Artist at the Grammys to will bees be placed on the endangered species list. And the CFTC was just hilariously underprepared to review 30 proposals in a timely fashion. They were used to reviewing maybe like a handful of markets each year for each exchange. This was basically a DOS attack against the federal regulators.
Well, and did the regulators think that this was like very silly? Like were they like actually like bees is like a very silly market?
Well, they have to go through each one. These are not people with a sense of humor, and they have to go through each one and say, okay, would this be detrimental to America if people were allowed to bet on this? And is it about terrorism, assassination, war, or gaming? Those are the specific things that they're legally allowed by their own rules to stop proposals based on. But like that means they have to decide. It takes a long time for each one to go through. Like, okay, could this be harmful? Let's figure out ways in which this could be manipulated and blah 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 blah. It takes a long time, and they have to do lots of these.
So they're having like very serious conversations about like how bad the smell is in the Penn Station bathrooms or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Bees. They got to read the whole Wikipedia page on bees, and
they're like, I don't know, protect our pollinators. They're like, it is no mo May, so
exactly. So Kalshi kept submitting more and more requests, and the CFTC started like hemorrhaging staff and leadership because everybody was so demoralized, and they were under the Trump administration, who did not want to help at all with this. So Kalshi just kind of won by attrition. They just ran out the clock until like one of the one of the 5 members of the panel was replaced by somebody more pro markets, and they won. They were allowed to launch their business.
That's crazy, man. Was that part of the strategy, or was that just sort of like the nature of the platform that they were trying to build, that they were just going to have this, like, this, the nature of the platform that they were trying to build was that they were going to have like a billion different little markets anyways. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, maybe it just all worked out.
I think their strategy, I think it was a very smart strategy. I think Jeff Bandman came up with a very smart strategy here, because he had worked at the CFTC before, so he knew their weaknesses. He knew that if they got, you guys want to do this many markets? Okay, that's great. So we don't tell them that for the first part, and then when they ask for our submissions, we'll submit like 1 billion of them, and they won't be able to handle it.
Jeff, man.
Didn't we have a bad Jeff on the last one? Oh no, we had my old roommate.
Jeff was the roommate who like helped you move your TV and when TV fell over.
Jeffs are 1 for 3 on this podcast, but you're the good Jeff.
I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. I'm trying. I'm out here. I'm out here trying.
They did not submit any political bets for approval during either of these phases, because they were trying to get regulatory approval, and they thought that might be a red line for the CFTC to have like betting on the congressional election. So they didn't ask about any of those.
Yeah, they're like, this is fun stuff. It's like birthdays and kittens and
right. Who could object to betting on whether Kanye West will release a new album this year?
Yeah. What a harmless bet.
Right. And then immediately they started lifting. As soon as they got approval, they launched their app and they started trying to list election result contracts, which the CFTC tried to block them on, because they were like, what the fuck? You guys said you weren't going to take bets on politics, and now you're taking bets on politics. And so Kalshi sued the CFTC on the basis that, like, by their own rules, they only had certain things they could block markets on, and they hadn't proved that betting on elections was contrary to the public interest, was the argument they made. And they won.
How sad.
Yeah, I know.
Was that also Jeff? Was that another Jeff Bandman?
I don't know who represented them for that. It might have been Jeff. I don't know if he represented them for that lawsuit. But they had a shitload of money to hire lawyers after they got approval. They got investments from like fucking everybody. So they could hire as many lawyers as they wanted.
They're like, who's going to be in the next Y Combinator like cohort or whatever?
Exactly. They did Y Combinator actually. But they didn't do the whole Y Combinator thing. But they did a project for Y Combinator, which is when they called out those lawyers. Anyway, so starting in August 2024, you could bet on political elections on Kalshi, and it was just in time for the presidential election. So fantastic, great, thank you.
That's crazy. So they really were in the right place at the right time. Mm-hmm. Like that was. I mean, whatever. Yeah. I guess you can't say these guys aren't smart.
They're smart. They're absolutely. I think Luana Lopez Lara is smart. I think Jeff Bandman is smart. I think Tariq Mansour appeals to a certain kind of finance guy. So they're taking bets on politics, but like ultimately, so what, right? Do I really care if a bunch of people on this dumb app can bet about who's going to be president or whether Taylor Swift is going to win her 100th Grammy? Does anyone care? Well, some people care. So in 2024, right after Kalshi started taking political event trades, Tariq Mansour did this AMA on Reddit. It was like basically, hey Reddit, my company just legalized trading on elections. Ask me anything. And it's a fun read because it was absolutely humiliating. The post has 0 points on Reddit and 2 poop awards. Some choice replies include, do you think you would be capable of spending the same amount of time and energy as it takes to run Kalshi on doing something positive for the world you live in? If yes, why not do that instead? And then also, did you run the idea of this AMA by anyone before you did it? Because if you did, you should fire them.
That's funny. I mean, that's not honestly the reaction that I expected. Because like I feel like the kind of people who are using Kalshi and maybe who are using Reddit are people who think that their opinion is really important, and it's kind of like in a weird roundabout way, like if you're using Kalshi, you're getting like paid for your opinion, sort of. But yeah, what was the? I guess I'm a little surprised that people on Reddit weren't more like psyched about it.
I mean, if you went on the crypto Reddit, right, or the blockchain Reddit or something, or the finance Reddit,
or like the
you'd be
stock
much more
trading
positive.
ones.
I think this may be naive. I think the culture of Reddit has matured quite a bit in the last 10 years. I think people on the general Reddits, like the AMA subreddit, tend to be in the aggregate a lot more reasonable than, say, people posting market ideas on Kalshi. But obviously, there's a lot of bad people being radicalized on Reddit too.
But yeah, okay. But this particular audience was a bit.
They were very mad, mostly about the potential harms to democracy, which is fair. It's easy to imagine the risks. If people can bet large sums of money on who will be the next president, now you've got a group of people with a large financial incentive to make sure their candidate wins. And Kalshi has hired Donald Trump Jr. as a strategic advisor, whatever that means. So Donald Trump Jr. can broadcast to the MAGA people, hey, place your Trump bets on Kalshi. Trump's going to the moon, and then that artificially pumps up the price of the Trump will win contracts, possibly by a major amount if there's not much trading volume.
And that just feeds into that narrative.
Which just feeds into the narrative, right? But ultimately, like, if the markets are fair, then maybe Kalshi has briefly inflated odds for a third Trump term. But what's the harm in that? It'll recalibrate. Well, I'll tell you what the harm is in that, because in December, the major business news outlet CNBC signed a deal where they're going to start presenting Kalshi's contract prices on TV, like alongside the news. So if there's a news story about the presidential election, they might have like a little chyron that pops up that's like, Trump is trading at 55% on Kalshi or whatever. This is just so fucking irresponsible.
I don't like that.
Holy shit. It's bad.
Yeah, I do not want that.
We're just not ready. Like, we're never ready for our laws in this country are never ready for the kind of shit that these people come up with. Like, that obviously should be illegal, right?
Yeah.
But it's not. And it's not just an afterthought. Well, go ahead.
Well, there's something crazy that I'm just like, so are we getting to this point where you basically have to pay to like participate? Like it's like so you have to pay to participate in democracy, because it's like also now there's like this like market force that's like driving the elections actually. And it does make me think about like super PACs and stuff like that as well. But like if it's like if Kalshi is like a democratizing force for throwing money at politics, which just feels so gross, because it's like then if you're not spending money on Kalshi, is your candidate just like guaranteed to lose? Like that's weird.
It's weird and it's terrifying.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of like lending legitimacy to the platform by presenting it. I mean, any like when people just started putting tweets on the news in general, I mean I think we were already pretty far gone. But yeah, that feels bad.
Yeah, we were already cooked, but now we're getting fucking roasted to a crisp. This CNBC thing is not just an afterthought. It's central to Kalshi's strategy. In an interview on the crypto podcast Empire, just last year in October, Tariq Mansour said this:
maybe CNN and Fox don't need to be polar opposites in every single issue. Maybe climate change is not 0% real or 100% real. Maybe it's like 40% chance that next year's gonna be a little bit warmer, right?
Yeah. Sounds like he really doesn't believe in climate change.
He doesn't really believe. He believes in nothing. Yeah.
Oh, true. Right. Because why have beliefs when you're perfectly rational?
Yeah.
You're taking the outputs from the markets, and that's what's driving your decision making.
They want to change the nature of truth, right? They want to create an environment where nothing is real or fake anymore. Nothing is true or false anymore. It's all just priced differently. And we have odds based on the prices, which is why both Trump administrations have worked so hard to make Kalshi into a legitimate regulated marketplace. The apparent hard-nosed mathematical rigor of the markets will grant Kalshi's odds an aura of inevitable truth, which will make Kalshi into a very powerful tool for fascism. But to offer something in closing in the way of hope, let's talk about what's standing in Kalshi's way in its quest to financialize everything people care about. So first of all, the biggest risk to Kalshi, as I see it, is that Tariq Mansour does so much finance math that his head explodes. His doctors have been telling him, stop. You're too good at finance. Please stop doing calculations. It's going to explode your head and kill everyone within 2 city blocks. But he just won't listen. So condolences in advance to Tariq Mansour's neighbors. So that's one. But on the off chance Tariq Mansour's head does not explode, Kalshi has a lot of competition to worry about, mainly the big sports betting apps, FanDuel and DraftKings, because a huge portion of Kalshi's revenue, like I said, still comes from sports betting. But those aren't so they're competing with those guys, but those aren't Kalshi's only competition, because now Kalshi has proven you can start a prediction market and the CFTC won't do shit about it. So now FanDuel and DraftKings are also moving into prediction markets, and so are tons of other companies. In fact, one of those companies is Donald Trump's social network, Truth Social, which is planning to launch Truth Predict through a partnership with Crypto.com. And they're all cannibalizing each other's liquidity, right? And so for any of these to work, one of them needs to basically win.
Monopolize. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And so far, that has not happened with the betting apps, so, or the exchanges. So, maybe that's a little hopeful.
Good grief.
Another bright spot is that Kalshi is currently drowning in lawsuits. One of the biggest is a class action that's been proposed in New York federal court, which alleges that Kalshi has been falsely advertising that it has better odds than the betting apps, because they don't charge a fig, and you're not betting against the house, right? There's no house.
Yeah, but how can they even claim that they have better odds if the bets are completely out of their control? Like if it's this pure rational market.
Fun fact: the bets are not completely out of their control. They have a subsidiary called Kalshi X that acts as a market maker in their markets. When they get a new market, it's independent. It's not profitable. There's a Chinese wall between Kalshi and Kalshi X supposedly, but the exchange comes in and they say, all right, then nobody has any of these contracts, so we're going to facilitate transactions. We're going to set a buy price and a sell price for these contracts, and then anybody who wants to buy or sell these can come through us for those prices and and that creates some sort of trading activity in the market, and they can make a profit by setting the buy and sell prices with a spread, so that they can use their better knowledge to make a profit on that.
Right, because you have to start it somewhere. You have to, right. You can't just come in and say 50-50. Although maybe that would be the most rational way to approach anything.
So if you want to know how they can guarantee that they have better odds than their competitors, you would have to ask Kalshi's lawyers, or just wait until this lawsuit resolves and you can read the papers on Pacer.
Are you a member of the class action lawsuit?
I don't live in New York. Oh, maybe I think it's actually a national class action. So maybe I should. I haven't lost any money on Kalshi yet. I haven't.
Brag.
I wanted.
Humble brag.
Well, I wanted to bet on it.
I was pretty awesome,
put
actually.
1,000. Yeah, I'm not in the red. I was gonna put $1,000 on whether Tariq Mansour will be charged with financial crimes by 2031, but nobody took me up on it. So there's another lawsuit. Massachusetts is suing Kalshi on the grounds that Kalshi violates their state gambling laws because you can trade on Kalshi if you're over 18, but Massachusetts doesn't let you gamble unless you're over 21.
Oh.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are legal actions against Kalshi in at least 9 states, including 2 from Native American tribes. So that's good. But you can win lawsuits. Maybe they win or settle all these lawsuits without too much damage. They got a lot of lawyers. So I think the biggest problem, the big underlying problem in the prediction market business model is about liquidity. In order for Kalshi to work, it needs a wide variety of markets, right? Because people need to be able to bet on things. If they're going to go to Kalshi, they need to be able to bet on lots of things that they care about. And people care about different things. So they need variety. But the more markets they create, the less money is available to be traded in each market because people's money is locked up in positions in other markets. For example, if too much of their users' money is locked up in sports bets, then that drains the liquidity from their election markets because elections happen much less often than football games, right? So, and this gets worse for them as they create more markets unless their user base grows faster than they can create markets. And even then, it can only do that for so long. So I predict, if I were to bet on something, I predict that this liquidity issue will be a huge problem for Kalshi and hopefully an insurmountable one.
Like this sort of like market fragmentation. It's like my attention is spread too thin among all these different markets. But right. I think there's a way around it, which is just to drive to sort of almost like reconsolidate them, like based on like, okay, we've identified like almost like trending topics on Twitter or something like that. It's like these are the hot markets, and the sort of like having those markets attract most of the liquidity.
Yes, and they're doing that. They're doing that, but both their competition and their other markets are, if they're launching markets every day, then they're going to end up with like either a ghost town of 90% markets where there's no trading going on, or the inability to like maintain the variety of markets that brings people to the platform.
Yes.
That's my hope.
That's interesting. That's
my hope. But maybe they won't. Maybe everything will work out for these two, and they'll become the world's first hyper billionaires. Anyway, Jeff,
but I wouldn't bet on it.
Ho ho. Well, that's because you're a coward, Jeff. That's all I know about Kalshi. So I hope you're feeling good about the world of high finance.
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds insane to me. It's very, it sounds like just ripe for corruption. I am very curious about like the granularity of these markets. I think that's kind of right. That's kind of fun. But I don't know if I'm going to sign up for a Kalshi account.
It is a fun idea. It's just in the system in which our society operates, it's a very dangerous idea also.
Do they have horse racing in Connecticut?
I am not sure. There's a place called Sports Haven here in New Haven that has a picture of a horse on it. But I don't know. I think it's closed down.
Because I've been to Saratoga a couple times. I find it somewhat depressing, but it is exciting. There's definitely a lot of people throwing a lot of money around.
Yep, and that's what makes the world go round. So, yeah. So thanks for being on the podcast, Jeff. You're a wonderful guest as always. You're willing to meet me in these complex and depressing topics and just fucking get bummed out together. So thank you so much.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
Thanks everybody for listening. I appreciate you all. If you or anyone you know has worked at Stop and Shop, grocery stores, or Woodman's, or Giant stores since 2018, I would love to talk to you for an upcoming episode that I'm writing. No spoilers, but please reach out. Dan@techblows.net. All right, that's it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening to Technology Blows. We'll see you next week when we talk about cookies. So look forward to that. See you then.